Good evening, everyone that's attending tonight's live presentation on anti-aging and longevity. I also want to welcome those of you that are watching the replay and those of you who are hearing about BFR, or what I call biological exercise, for the first time. This is a new technology and it works different in your body. Now, 10 years ago, I launched B3 Sciences, and we didn't quite realize the powerful tool that we had. We thought this exercise was a way to stimulate a similar response to traditional heavy weightlifting, and that it does. But what we've learned over the last 10 years is this is different. Although it gets you to the same place of being fit, healthy, strong, muscular, young, pain-free, it does it through a different mechanism. It works with your biology. And this is the first ever system that works both with your biology and is backed by science. And I call it biological exercise. We're going to have a book coming out, but tonight we're going to talk about anti-aging, how you use biological signals to create an anti-aging effect to live forever. Well, not quite forever, but like Ronnie said, Ronnie's goal is 122 years young. I'm going to set a goal for everybody tonight of 100. And here's the challenge. We know about sleep. We know about diet. But most people leave out exercise. They look at it as optional. Well, I don't have to tell you what you've been reading or seeing about strength and muscle. If you lose your strength and muscle, you're not going to live long, because that is the beginning stages of disease processes. Exercise has to become a habit, not essential. It's just got to become part of your regular life if you want to live long and vibrant. Now, look, we all know the challenge, right, that happens when we try and do traditional exercise. But here's what science is now proving, and I looked at least 50 studies over the last week. We're actually living longer, but we're not living healthier. We haven't figured out health span. We've only figured out lifespan. Due to the wonders of modern pharmacy and technology, we're able to stay alive longer, but the problem is that muscle loss, declining strength, metabolic diseases like high blood pressure, blood sugar problems are rampant. Brain degeneration is at all-time highs, and we all know people who are frail or have fallen or have fractured, and we all know people who have lost their independence. People aren't dying earlier, they're declining longer, and that's a problem. We took a questionnaire and we quizzed many of you and asked you what concerns you most about aging. The number one answer was losing strength. Isn't that interesting? 30 years ago, if we'd have said, what concerns you the most about aging, you'd have said heart disease. We wouldn't have said strength. But we all know now that strength equals health span, and then it equals lifespan. The second most common was brain deterioration. That wouldn't have been in the top 2 or 3 30 years ago. Joint pain, limiting exercise, coordination and balance, slow metabolism, low energy, bone density. These are what you replied with. Here's the real cause. And over the last 10 years, I've had a front row seat. Now, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not a PhD. I was a chiropractor. But let me tell you what I do have. I have the film, and the film doesn't lie. I've seen it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. I have more access than a researcher who looks at 20 or 30 people. I've seen thousands of people. I've read every study. I've traveled around and talked to some of the most expert people on longevity and health, but I've had a front row seat to what you've helped me create. And here's the real cause of aging. It's a signal problem. You see, You signal your body, you tell it what to do with exercise. And if you send the right signals, you increase nitric oxide. Everybody knows what that is. We don't have to have a discussion. That keeps healthy blood flow and a healthy cardiovascular system, and it has other tremendous benefits. And growth hormone. Now look at that chart over here on the right. Look how steep the decline is in your anabolic system once you get into your late 20s. What's your anabolic system? Well, let me walk through it with you real quick, because it is the hormonal control of how your body works. It starts with growth hormone, the master hormone. And then it goes down and it controls your thyroid, which controls metabolism. And then it goes into your liver and it gives you things like IGF-1, which maintains muscle, and bone-specific alkaline phosphatase, which maintains bone density. And then it goes up to your brain and gives you brain-derived nootropic factor, which maintains a healthy brain. And then it turns on your T killer cells and your anti-inflammatory macrophages. That is your immune system. And then it stimulates vascular endothelial growth factor, which keeps your blood vessels healthy. This is how you stay young. And the way you do it is by sending signals. These signals control everything. They control muscle, metabolism, circulation, recovery. But when the signal declines, the body follows. Let's take an example. You don't exercise. You're sedentary. Or you play some recreational sports, but you don't do any cardio or weight training. You are not sending the signal to tell your body to stay young. And we all know what happens in midlife and in our senior years when we don't get the right type of exercise. So the most important thing I want you to leave tonight with is this. There are signals that are tied to your biology. It's a biological thing. And when you learn how to send them and talk to your body, you stay young. You stay free of most major metabolic diseases, and you live long. Now, let's talk about the other side. We all know, we've seen the movie. We've lived it. We've seen it. What happens when you don't send the correct exercise signal, right? No signal, you decline. It's fine in your 20s and 30s, but then you start noticing the muscle disappear. That comes first. And then you start losing some strength. And then you start accumulating fat around the midsection and loose skin. And then you start seeing things like energy dropping. You're not sleeping well. Your immune system's not strong. You catch more colds and flus. You don't recover as fast. You help somebody move a few things in their house and you're sore for a week. The body starts to break down. It does not start with the body breaking down in energy. It started with muscle. It started when you started to lose your strength and your muscle. You see, your body is never staying in one place. When you get into midlife, it's a teeter-totter. And if you're not adapting, then you are declining. But here's what's great about biology. As soon as you send the right signal, you start adapting again. So you can be on a declining teeter-totter, and I've seen it in 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds. But if you send the right signal, you'll flip the teeter-totter and you'll start building muscle and strength and health, regardless of your age. So the second thing to remember tonight is you control how your body adapts. And age is not the major factor. The factor is, can you send the signal? Well, the solution is exercise, right? And it's not going for a walk. It's not doing some water aerobics. Those are called movement. We shouldn't call walking and fun, light exercise because it's movement. Isn't it interesting? Let's prevent the further deterioration of the brain. Let's hold on to the brain so it doesn't deteriorate. Let's stop the progression of bone density loss. These are the things you hear. Methods that are designed to maintain or slow the decline of the deterioration of your body. That's not biological. That's not even maintenance mode. That's not sending the right signal. So if we send the right signal to our brain, we're going to learn how to do that. Your muscles come back, your hormones elevate, your metabolism returns, your brain gets healthy, and your immune system stays strong. Now let's hope we get to this before we have a debilitating disease that is not reversible. And let's make sure we talk to our family and friends and share this with them, because exercise doesn't stimulate your body. It tells your body. It says, hey, body, stay strong, stay capable. I want to tell you a story. Met a medical doctor named Dr. Ace recently, about a month ago. One of the smartest guys you'll ever meet, and you'll probably see him on one of our calls. And we do our first BFR session together. We do 3-minute arms, and you all know the result. Wow, oh my gosh, there's the, he got the wow. He's like, oh, I haven't felt that in 20 years, and we did it in 3 minutes. But here's what's fascinating. He calls me and says, hey, let's get back on Zoom. I got a couple questions. And he's got the same shirt on. He's wearing his doctor scrubs. And I noticed right away his muscle is filling out his shirt. And the first thing he does is, Mike, look at this. I put an inch of muscle on my arms in 2 weeks doing little BFR with tubing. An inch of muscle. He says, I haven't seen an inch of muscle in years. He said, I get it. Now, he's super smart. He didn't ask me what's going on. He said, Mike, I already researched. I know what's going on. It's like you said, I'm accessing my biology. Now, this guy's in midlife. Point being, he learned to send the right signal to his body. Now, here's the problem, right? We can all manage and tolerate high intensity in our 20s. Now, people have perfect form and perfect recovery, which is a small percent of the population. They can keep training that way in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. But look around, play the film, ask your friends, look at your life. What you did in your 20s hurts in your 40s. Isn't that interesting? At some point, every human body, and I don't care if it starts at 70, at some point, traditional high-intensity exercise, your biology will reject it. It'll basically say, nope, we're not doing that anymore. And you're going to be sore, and you're going to be injured, and you're going to be tired, and you're going to sleep bad, or you're going to have surgery. I have replaced 3 joints, 3 major joint replacements, living that right there. I wish I could go back, but it's okay. I can teach a younger generation not to live that way. Pain is not progress. Pain is damage. The only thing that's happening when you're young is the bill has not come due yet. That's the problem. Well, most of you are like me. If I went into the gym tomorrow and did the workouts I did when I was in my 20s, I wouldn't be able to walk the next day. There'd be a bunch of ice and a bunch of ibuprofen, and I'd probably be going to see the orthopedic surgeon for something I ripped, right? So that's the challenge. Look, everybody knows you need to exercise, but why do people stop? Think about maybe when you stopped. You didn't stop because you thought it wasn't important. You stopped because you couldn't do it anymore, or you were frustrated, or it took too long. And that's a major problem. We have to learn, starting with us, and we're going to teach everybody else, that we've got to look at exercise in our 30s up to 100 differently than we looked at it in our 20s. We've got to look at it from a biological standpoint. because what we're doing is biologically wrong. It's absolutely the wrong thing we should be doing. Now, I'm not talking about people who have perfect form and perfect recovery. There's a small percentage of the population. We all know people in their 50s and 60s that are still doing Ironmans and triathlons, but that's not the norm. Why is it biologically wrong? Because your biology changes. What worked in your 20s doesn't work forever, right? More is not better unless you're an elite athlete. What happens when you do the wrong exercise in midlife is your body goes from saying, hey, I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to get fitter, to going into stress mode. And we've all probably at some point in our life felt that stress mode. And we've all heard the words cortisol. Now, here's the part that you should remember. When you do all this work to do exercise, you go work out for 45 minutes to an hour, and many people don't see any results, you actually create cortisol, which stops growth hormone. That was me at 52 years old. I'm going to the gym for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm getting my 20 minutes of vigorous cardio, and I'm doing my 40 to 50 minutes of heavy weightlifting. And I'm looking in the mirrors going, where's the muscle going? Why don't I have my six pack? I remember at about 36, 37, I lost my six pack and I was chasing it for 15 years. And I did everything except work with my biology because I was blunting my growth hormone because I was overstressing my body. Next, stress mode preserves fat, right? Isn't it interesting? We all at some point just accept, oh, that layer of fat, you just accept it. I had accepted it. And then at 52, I switched and started working with my biology. And in 6 weeks, I got my six pack back. All I did was change how I signaled my body. And if you ask a lot of the people on this call, they'll tell you the same thing. Oh, yeah, that fat that used to hang around is gone. It just melted right off. Right. You worked with your biology. When you work against it, your body's going to hang on to fat. And it's going to actually go catabolize muscle. Think about that. Many people go work out and overtrain and they actually lose muscle. The one thing they're trying to create is catabolized. Why? Because your body is in stress mode. And when you go in stress mode, it says leave the fat alone. Let's go use the muscle and convert it to glucose. And many people see increases in blood sugar, yet they're doing traditional weight training. And guess what else comes along with it? Arterial stiffness, high blood pressure. By a show of hands, and do it for yourself, how many of you know bodybuilders that are 70 to 80 years old and in perfect health? I don't know any, because they have been in cortisol for so long, forcing their body with brute force. Now, I'm not saying they're not a healthy crowd. What I can tell you now from my research is that does not work with your biology. So what we need is we need a biological way to work with how our body responds. Well, guess what? We already have it. It's interesting how everything I read, and many of you will agree with this, is catching up with where we are. It's like we went first and then the science came in. Many of us started doing BFR and seeing all these results, but we didn't quite understand the science. And then here comes the science right behind us. Now, I'm not going to take the credit for inventing BFR. That goes to Dr. Sato in Japan, who has been doing it for 50 years. What we get the credit for is being smart enough to recognize it, make a better BFR band, and then launch a company to help thousands of people. And we're now over 80,000 people. What did we figure out? Well, we figured out that we can trigger our signals in our muscles to build muscle, burn fat, get stronger with low intensity force, but yet create a high intensity signal. Most of us do it backwards. We use a high intensity force. We overload our body and create a low intensity signal. Oh, you're pounding your body and your body's going, oh, well, I don't know. And then all of a sudden you start doing BFR for 10 minutes, and many of you experienced it. It's a low intensity force and a high intensity signal. Your body basically goes, whoa, wow, man, you are really getting after it. I'm going to make you stronger and fitter and healthier and faster. And I'm going to reverse your blood sugar problems. I'm going to help your heart. I'm going to focus on, right, because you're sending the right biological signal. You see, traditional training, never forget this, overloads the muscle with weight. Actually, what it does is it overloads the muscle with brute force. It's crude. 10 years from now, we're going to look back and say, why did we ever do that? BFR overloads the muscle with signal. It sends a precise signal that says adapt, and it does it without stressing the body. It's biological. Now, we're going to talk about two signals tonight, and you're not going to need to open a science book. If you've used BFR, you know what they are, okay? The signals are created by first putting the bands on like the Larry has and safely slowing down the blood flow. Now, everybody look down here. We know, make sure you show people the blood is flowing. It's just slowed down. Now watch, at the heart, no change in flow. At the brain, no change in flow. That's why it's safe, okay? But when you slow down the blood flow, you lower the oxygen in the muscle. Now you start exercising and you create a faster drop in oxygen. And people will say to me, oh, you can't do that. I said, well, then what are you doing when you're exercising? You're trying with exercise to lower the oxygen in the muscle so that it will fatigue. The first signal you're going for is hypoxia, low oxygen in the muscle. Why do they altitude train? Because it creates a quicker drop in oxygen. So BFR drops the oxygen in the muscle and creates hypoxia. That is a biological signal, and your body responds in a very positive way. Now, what happens, everyone, when you keep doing the BFR? You all know you feel the burn. You feel the lactic acid. That is signal number 2. That's exercise. That is living to 100 years old. It's living healthy. It's living vibrant. Create hypoxia in your muscles. Create lactic acid. That's it. That is the secret to your biology. Now let's break it down. Signal number 1, hypoxia. Why are the altitude trainers? Why has this guy got an oxygen mask on? Well, he's either measuring oxygen or he's reducing oxygen, right? When you do BFR with a low intensity load, not brute force, your muscles start using oxygen faster. Remember, then it is flowing in because you put the bands on. And your body responds with nitric oxide, not because you ate beets, because you did something biological to signal your body. And then immediately your blood flow improves. And most of you will do in BFR and you go, oh, wow, man, I got focus. Oh, my joints have loosened up. I got the runner's high. I got the gym bust. That's nitric oxide. Most people who exercise, hear this, rarely get any nitric oxide. All of you that are doing BFR, you get it in 30 seconds. And people are spending an hour in the gym and they never see it. Why? Because they can't drop the oxygen in their muscles like you can with a fraction of the work. BFR doesn't just train your muscle, it trains your vascular system to deliver more with less effort. Wouldn't that be great? Let's deliver more cardiovascular health for the rest of our life with less effort. That's what BFR does. This nitric oxide is sitting right in your blood vessels. It's not because you ate something. Now, Yeah, you got to eat some good foods to have it, but it's already sitting in your blood vessels, nitric oxide, and it's waiting for you to trigger it. It's waiting for you to send the signal. And as soon as the signal's sent, it's released and your blood thins and circulation improves everywhere. Improves at your brain, at your kidneys, at your little toe. You see those rings around your legs when you take your socks off. It improves that. It improves veins. It improves circulation into your joints. Over time, your body then adapts to this. It's called vascular remodeling, and it's caused by releasing endothelial nitric oxide. And your body builds a better system. You change. Doesn't matter if you're 20 or 80. You get better at delivering oxygen, nutrients, and recovering. I can tell you this, 30, 40 years from now, when we look back and do studies and demographics, the people that have been doing BFR are going to have a little teeny fraction of what everybody else has in cardiovascular disease, because this is cardiovascular health, nitric oxide. So longevity, how do you do it? You regularly send the signal to release nitric oxide in anti-aging. And here's what it's proven to do. I'll show you a couple studies. It reduces and prevents the plaque in your blood vessels, atherosclerosis. It reduces inflammation in the blood vessels. It maintains arterial elasticity and prevents and can even reverse hardening of the arteries. It improves your endothelium and your blood flow everywhere. Nitric oxide doesn't just improve your flow, it actively protects your arteries from becoming blocked, which is what causes high blood pressure and then the heart attack and then the death. And it's been sitting in your body your entire life. You just need to know what signal to send. If you want to read more, go out to ChatGPT and type in BFR and cardiovascular health. Here's 3 studies. Frontiers in Physiology. BFR improves vascular function through increased nitric oxide signaling. Journal of Applied Physiology. Low intensity, low force, high signal improves arterial function. European Journal of Applied Physiology. BFR not only enhances blood flow to the heart, but it causes vascular adaptations. What does that mean? Reversing of atherosclerosis and hardening of the arteries. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but this is the process where you start getting younger. It's not a testimonial. It's not a fad. It is rock solid science, and it's based on your biology. Signal number 2. Now, we're getting the nitric oxide, right? We're doing a couple minutes of BFR. We're keeping our blood flowing, our oxygen delivery, our nutrients healthy. Now, the other signal we want to go get is we want to elevate our anabolic hormones to stay young. And that's the lactate, or what you commonly hear is lactic acid. You feel the burn. We don't need to get into science tonight about why it's created, but you all feel it. You're exercising, you go, oh, whoa, well, there's the burn. But what do? I've taught you, you've learned, you've read the science, you keep going. Here's the difference between somebody doing BFR in midlife and somebody who's not, who's in the gym. Many of you have been there. Here's the person without BFR. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the burn. 7, stop. It's hard. It hurts. You only produce a little bit of lactic acid and you don't send a strong signal. What do the big muscle people do, or the elite athletes? They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the burn. And then they go, okay, now we can get started. And they keep going for 20 or 30 seconds. Well, what are you doing? You're not curling heavy weights. You're just la-di-da. Oh, there's the burn. And you just keep going. You're getting a high intensity response like you're an elite athlete, but you're doing low intensity work. And you create lactate. Lactate is a signal. It's not a waste product. It's not, oh, I'm going to be sore tomorrow from lactic acid. It is a biological signal. It tells your body to adapt. It's like doing intense training. Now, how do I know? Well, I've read all the studies. Guess what else I've done? I've measured over 300 people their lactate. And by the way, all of you can do it. It's just like measuring blood sugar if you want to get a $200 meter. This is Ashley. Now, of these approximately 300 people I've measured, Gaylord's done it, many of you on the call I've met, we work out for 4 minutes, not 40, not 4 hours, 4 minutes, and there's no weights. We just do little leg exercises. This is Ashley. Now, resting lactate is about 0.8 to 1.0, and if you can increase it by 100%, you will trigger your anabolic growth hormone. And we don't see 100%. That's 7.9 for Ashley. That is an 800% increase. That's like going out to the Olympic Training Center and working out for 2 hours. Gaylord did it, right? I did it with him in Vegas. We had 3 or 4 people in the room did it, and all their lactates went through the roof. We create a high-intensity signal with low-intensity work by producing lactate. And guess what it does? It turns on growth hormone. Then your metabolism goes through the roof, 600 to 800 more calories per day. Here comes the strength. Here comes the muscle. Dr. Ace put an inch on his arms in 2 weeks. That's called working with your biology versus brute force trying to force your biology. And when this lactate signals this anabolic system, oh, it's not just about muscle and strength. It's about your heart and your bones and your brain and your immune system. You see, lactate isn't fatigue. That is your lifeline. You don't need, I used to say, chase the burn. Here's our new motto: catch it and feel it. Don't chase it, catch it and hang on to it, and then feel what it's going to do to your body, because it is your direct path to 100 years old. I'm convinced of it. It's everything I've read. Now, when you get that lactate, it turns on your anabolic system and it builds muscle. The opposite of what everybody's dealing with, sarcopenia in midlife. It adds strength. Oh, you want to start doing some of these strength measurements that they measure? Oh, try some grip strength stuff, or what they say, sit to stand seniors. Watch how fast that comes back. And then it starts to work on lowering blood pressure, controlling your blood sugar. I might ask Dr. Clint to come on, and he'll tell you he can fix now insulin resistance in like 5 minutes. He's seen it, and I've seen it on dozens of people. If you want to know more about that, go watch our blood sugar presentation. No more frail, no more worrying about falling. We're talking about, hey, I'm going to use good form to move that couch. I'm going to carry 4 bags of groceries in. I'm not going to have somebody carry them for me. And then independence. This is how you maintain that. If you send this lactate signal daily, you will biology stay young. I have learned now, I'm 62. That's called my chronological age. That doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah, I've got some arthritis in my joints. I can't go barreling down the mountain on a snowboard, but I don't function like I'm 62. It's like Ronnie says. He's 86 years young. He's not 86 years old. He'll tell you, I don't feel 86. And he doesn't function that way. You have a choice. Decide your functional age. Ignore the chronological age. The pathway to lowering your functioning age is through hypoxia and lactate. Longevity. All you have to do is go read about it. I want to encourage every one of you. Don't take my word for it, although most of you will, because I've read all the science. Go do your own research. Go type in longevity or lactate and longevity. Exercise-produced lactate and longevity. You'll read some stuff and go, why didn't anybody tell me that? It preserves muscle, it enhances brain health, not prevents brain deterioration, enhances. It actually creates neuroplasticity, improvement of the brain, improves vascular health, metabolically optimizes your health so you don't have high cholesterol, high lipids, high blood sugar. And here's the fact, okay? This is what's going to happen to every one of you and everyone you love and everyone you care about. If you don't create lactate, you're not going to have the signal. You're not going to work with your biology. You're going to be fighting, you're going to be struggling, right? You're not going to be living at your best. And if you don't get the signal, you're not going to adapt. And if you're not adapting, guess what direction you're going? You're not anti-aging, you're fast aging. It's a teeter-totter, right? When I was about 40 to the age of 52, I was aging incredibly fast. I was doing all the wrong exercise. I was eating good. I was a chiropractor. I was taking all the supplements. I had all the gadgets, but I was brute pounding my body. Not a power lifter. I was just doing what everybody else was in the gym. But I was hanging out with 20-year-olds, and I had the biology of somebody in their 40s who should have never done it that way. That's longevity. 3 studies, and there's hundreds out there. Journal of Applied Physiology, rapid increase in growth hormone after low intensity BFR. There it is, right in front of you. Not 10%, up to 290% more versus traditional exercise. Low intensity force, high intensity signal. It's called working with your biology. Journal of Human Kinetics. Blood flow restriction training induces hormonal response and muscle adaptation. Break that down. Creating hypoxia in your muscles creates fatigue. And then your muscles start producing lactate like you are training at high intensity. You're feeling the burn. You might just be going for a walk, but your body relates it, not thinks. Your body doesn't think you're doing high intensity. Your body will say, oh, you used to do that before, but you are doing a heck of a lot more work to do it. You're sending a precise signal. Frontiers in physiology. BFR significantly increases growth hormone, IGF-1, and testosterone. 10 years ago, I was of the belief that this could help people who couldn't lift heavy anymore. It helped me, and I watched my son get faster, and I watched people. Now here's what we know. It's not a belief anymore. This is smarter. It's more efficient. It is better, and it isn't even close. In 10 years, all the researchers will be telling the young people, don't go do that because the price tag is going to come due. And in your midlife, absolutely don't do that. Unless you've got perfect form and perfect technique and perfect recovery, it is the absolute wrong way to train. And the science is right behind what I'm saying. That's why I'm coming out with the book. Look at this study. Walking, not weightlifting, not banging the ropes, not hanging out in the CrossFit class with the 45-minute fitness models. Isn't it interesting, all the commercials, and you go in the CrossFit classes and they're all flipping tires and banging the ropes, right? And throwing overhead presses. I don't see any 60-year-old guys in there like me that are doing that, right? They're all the 25-year-old models. Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy. 3 weeks of not push-ups, not 100 sit-ups, walking, going for a walk in the bands, significant increase in thigh muscle size, reduction in body fat VO2 max. That's called biology wins. Low intensity walking with BFR created a high intensity signal. I love where we're at today because 10 years ago, I'd get in not arguments, but people would be able to shut me down because I didn't have all this, right? And I'd go talk to medical doctors and strength coaches. I remember talking to some people and oh yeah, yeah. Now I shut everybody else down. Not because I'm smarter, it's because I've seen the film and the film does not lie. This is irrefutable what is happening with our biology. Here's another study. Immune system. Exercise is one of the most powerful things you can do to your immune system. It stimulates your natural T killer cells. That keeps you from getting serious infections and stimulates your anti-inflammatory cytokines. BFR enhances these benefits the same way by stimulating circulation. How does it do that, everyone? What's signal number one? Nitric oxide. And then it releases beneficial signaling molecules. What's that? Lactate. And it builds a strong immune system. Play the film, everyone, when the C word hit, COVID. How many of you, by a show of hands, remember a professional athlete that ended up in the hospital on a respirator? I didn't see any. Why? Because they are all stimulating nitric oxide and lactate every day. Oh, they had to wear the mask. Why? Why? Because the support staff who wasn't exercising were in danger of dying. Now, I'm not taking a side. I'm just saying people who stimulate nitric oxide and lactate play the film. They don't get sick. They don't die of pneumonia. It's the people who aren't doing that. You want to have a healthy immune system. Now, let's end with this. Where should we start? We should start once we get to about 10 years old and into our 20s, and we should build this biological engine. We've got to take our kids and we've got to start training them, but they are just like we are in our 50s. Isn't it interesting? Hey, don't load a kid with heavy weight. You might hurt them. Okay, you're in your 20s, go ahead and pound your body and beat yourself up. Then you get in your 30s and you're like, okay, stop doing that again. Play the film, right? BFR. By the way, there's a study out on our website done in July of 2025, a meta-analysis, 12 studies reviewed. BFR is safer, more effective, and better results for adolescents than traditional weight training. So in our 10s and 20s is where we should be impacting our life by building the biological habit and the engine, and it'll last for a lifetime. I'm so grateful that I got to teach my kids this. They're now in their late 20s. They both do BFR. My son isn't going to have to replace all his joints like I've had. My daughter's got a perfect physique. She's got great health. She's never going to have to worry about those things, right? I taught them this when they were young, 30s and 40s, right? This is where we're trying to stay strong because we've got a busy life, right? Like Ryan Gavlik and his wife there. They don't have an hour. And the pounding starts to hurt, right? In our 30s and 40s, this is where we should be thinking of, hey, let's stay strong while we go through the busiest part of our life. It's have more energy and nitric oxide, growth hormone for work, family, and life. And let's prevent the decline that starts at this point in our life. Instead of letting our growth hormone drop naturally, let's keep it elevated by sending the right signal. Then we get in our 50s and 60s. This is where I'm at. This is where most people lose it. Most people lose it right here. They lose all their muscle. They lose all their strength. And I'm, again, not going to take a position, but we start going for the pills and the injections. And all of us probably know when the GLPs came out, we all said, oh, we're going to lose all our muscle with that. And looky here we are, and everybody's losing their muscle. Oh, yeah, they lost some weight, but you are heading on a crash course if you've lost your muscle. For many reasons, this is where many people lose it. Here's the biggest one. I can't lift weights anymore in my 50s and 60s. I just don't have any joints left. I did it for too long, right? So here's where we can stay strong, active, And most importantly, here's where all of us realize muscle becomes our anti-aging organ. We go, okay, I get it now. If I don't have muscle, oh, that insulin resistance is around the corner. And then here comes the blood pressure and then the brain degeneration, and then I lose my bones, right? Okay. 70s and 80s. There's Ronnie. He's running 50-meter and 100-meter dashes at 86 years old, winning state championships. Why? Because Ronnie, he figured out. Now, he's got a lot of healthy habits, but he figured out how to keep all his muscle. And he accesses his own nitric oxide and lactate. Gaylord Rhodes, early 70s. You got to see this guy hit a golf ball. Now, look, he's got some pain and some arthritis, and he deals with some challenges, but the guy functions like he's in his 20s and 30s. He is accessing his biology. And in your 70s and 80s, independence is everything. And if you don't go get that signal, this is where most people check out. I graduated in a class of 200 people in high school. I'm 62, 38 are gone. Gone. Every time I get on Facebook every couple months, gone, gone, not sick, gone. Not sending the right biological signal. And then 90s and 100s. Now, we don't have a lot of science on this, but I'm telling you, we're going to have it in about 10, 15 years because we got a lot of 70s and 80-year-olds that are going to be in their 90s and 100s and living vibrant. Why? Because when you send the signal, the body always responds. And you'll be able to stay alive by staying strong. By the way, where the number one thing that triggered this from me, and if you'd like to see it, make sure you email me. Early on, when I was learning about BFR, Dr. Jim sent me a video of what he saw firsthand. People 100 years and older who had been doing BFR in Japan for 30 years. And he sent me this picture of this lady, 104 years old, doing BFR. And I never forgot it. I can see every exercise she's doing. And Jim told me way back then, we didn't know the science, but he just said, oh yeah, they're making 100-year-old people in Japan have been doing this. And I think we're going to see the exact same thing. So here's the secret. And it's not a secret, it's rooted in science. It's just how we approach and how we treat our biology biologically, right? It's the secret, in my opinion. Why is it a secret? Not, again, because there's no science. It's because nobody knows about it. We think brute force and no pain, no gain, and then stop doing it and take pills and take injections and hope and pray that that's going to work, right? That's not working with your biology. Reaching 100 years of age will not require futuristic medicine. The body hasn't changed. Your biology was the same 200 years ago that it is now. It requires maintaining the signals to keep your body alive. Short sessions, low force, low stress, high signal. Send the strongest signal you can into your body. Don't send a 1x, send a 5x every day. You see, the body never receives, if the body never receives the message that it should grow old, it doesn't grow old. Now, I'm not saying we're going to live to be 150, but I'm interested in being this vibrant and enjoying this quality of life in my 80s and 90s and seeing my great-grandchildren and my grandchildren versus declining slowly like we see so many people doing. Make sure you tune in to our Facebook page and our Instagram. Join and share, because we're going to be talking more. You're hearing me talk about this a lot. I know about BFR. I'm light years ahead of everybody else, not because I'm the smartest guy, because we've already seen the film. We know the film. LeBron's doing it. Mahomes is doing it. Dr. Oz is doing it. Wahlberg's doing it. The elite forces in the military are now doing it. We're getting ready to start with the elite forces in the military. We have already figured out BFR. Here's where we at. Here's where our future's at. We've figured out together, you've helped me, that this is biology. We figured out how to biological stimulate and send the right signals into our body. And look, we owe it to humanitarian, everybody we care about, to share it with them. Now, if you want to get this replay and share it with somebody, make sure you send an email over to support@b3sciences.com. If you got any questions on this, do that also. But now we know we can live the biological way, the way our body was designed. And again, the film doesn't lie. I read all the studies. That doesn't impress me. Let me tell you what impresses me. Everybody that I'm seeing, and I've seen thousands of people that are all responding the same way when they signal the body with BFR. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in tonight.